Welcome to JK Tells a Story, where real-life dramas unfold. Sit back and enjoy today's tale. It was Monday afternoon when I sat in the restroom stall with my pants around my ankles, listening to people laugh at me. They thought it was funny, especially the fact I had no idea about anything. How could a guy not know his wife was cheating on him, doing it right under his nose? Tyler Vaughn, who claimed he'd been with my wife, was telling his friend Derek Sullivan how he'd seduced her at a party last week. It was at this party I'd been called away to investigate a break-in at a gallery in River North. I was only gone about 2 hours, but I made it back before the evening ended. When I returned, I found my wife at a table with 3 other people, one of whom was Tyler Vaughn. The other couple was his boss and his wife. My name is Marcus Brennan, and I'm an insurance investigator for a world-renowned company dealing exclusively with high-value property clients. You probably don't know the name. We cater to a very exclusive clientele. I got into it straight out of college and have been with them over 15 years. I'm 37 and in my prime. My job is investigating circumstances of incidents where there may be large compensation claims. Most of the time it's routine, but sometimes things get exciting. I investigate mostly thefts and robberies, occasionally car accidents if more than 1 or 2 of our insured vehicles are involved. I'm very good at it and have a reputation in my industry. I'm often loaned out to other companies at a high price. I travel sometimes but never long, and if a lengthy investigation is required, I have people who stay on site. I've been married to Lauren 14 years. We have 2 wonderful children, Emma, 10, and Sophie, 8. Lauren is a year older than me and works at the same company as secretary to Robert Caldwell, the company president. We met and married before she joined the company, but when she lost her job, I wanted her to try working for my firm. We had to get HR permission because of nepotism policies, but since I was valued, they agreed. Fortunately, Robert was looking for a new secretary, and Lauren had more than 5 years' experience as a personal assistant at a major corporation. He interviewed her and immediately liked her. She was accepted as his personal secretary. The 2 people I mentioned earlier, Tyler Vaughn and Derek Sullivan, were insurance specialists who wrote policies for large companies or individuals with very high-value assets. To me, they were only acquaintances, not friends. Both worked for Mitchell Hayes, a good guy who was a good friend of mine. I'd met his wife Karen a few times at company events. I reported directly to Robert and worked independently most of the time, but occasionally received interesting assignments from Mitchell. The conversation I overheard took place a week after the party. I'd gone to the restroom to relax and sat there pushing and sweating. I'd eaten scallops for lunch the day before and thought they might have been off. While I was cursing my fate, Tyler and Derek walked in. They seemed to ignore the closed stall door and began talking about the party. That's when Tyler started bragging to Derek about his latest conquest. I listened in increasing pain in my intestines that had nothing to do with cramps and bad fish. "How did you manage it?" Derek asked. "I didn't think she was that kind of woman. We did a couple dances, and she was pretty friendly. But Marcus was there, and she just smiled when I asked her to come to my office. She said Marcus wouldn't be too happy if she did that." "So what did you do?" "I talked her into having a drink with me at the bar while Marcus was dancing with Stephanie. I asked the bartender to make me a double and then switched our drinks while she was talking to someone. That was the easy part. I just wanted to get her a little drunk so I could touch her on the dance floor." "Yeah, but Marcus was still there. So what could you really do?" "Hell no, it was just dumb luck. We were doing a quick dance when he came over to tell her he needed to leave. She wanted him to take her home first, but he told her to stay and have fun. Said he was sure he could return soon. She wasn't too interested in staying, but she did. She sat with me, Mitchell, and his wife." "And what happened next?" "Well, Marcus left, and I ordered her another drink. I had Joe make it a double again, and she didn't notice the difference. We did a couple slow dances, and by then she was almost out of it. She hung on to me and I took my chances. I figured 1 or 2 more drinks would seal it. I got her another one, and she drank it like a pro. I could see exactly where this was going. Yeah, another double and she felt dizzy. I invited her to go outside to get some air, and she readily agreed. I took her to my car and we sat in the back seat. She was almost gone, so I made my move. She didn't resist. It was incredible. I can't believe Lauren did this. She never seemed capable of cheating. Are you sure this really happened? I'm not feeding you crap. I even have a date with her next Saturday when she usually goes to get her hair done. She said she'd meet me, and I'll book a hotel room. I'm going to spend the whole afternoon with her. Well, I envy you, dude. Lauren is one hot woman. I always wondered what Marcus did to deserve her. Maybe you can set me up with her when you get tired of her. Maybe. We'll see. For now, don't even think about this conversation. I don't want anything to go wrong. They both left the restroom while I sat there trying to keep my stomach from coming out through my mouth. I couldn't believe what I'd just heard. Could this really be happening? I began to remember that evening. It was almost 11 when I returned to the party, and Lauren was sitting with Tyler, Karen, and Mitchell Hayes. Lauren didn't seem drunk when I sat down. She was talking to Karen about the kids. Tyler spoke to me but didn't stay more than a few minutes before leaving. I noticed Lauren say something to him but didn't think anything of it. The only thing strange that evening was that when we got home, Lauren wanted to make love. It wasn't unusual, but she usually didn't want to that late. She was especially passionate that night. Guilt? Repentance? Maybe. A week had passed since the party, and I didn't see any difference in Lauren or her behavior. She never brought up the fact I'd left during the party or what she did when I was gone. I asked her, and she said she'd danced with Tyler and Mitchell but mostly just watched. She and Karen talked about school and the play the kids were in, and that was it. She said she would have preferred to come home when I left. Hey baby, do you have any plans for this Saturday? I was going to play golf if that's okay. I looked at her face for a reaction. This Saturday? Right after lunch I'll get my hair done. It'll take me at least an hour or hour and a half. Where will you play golf? So she was getting her hair done. How does Tyler know this if she didn't tell him? I didn't even know this. It seemed like everything was too real. I think at Medina Country Club. I'll see if Derek Sullivan can join me. I think he and Mitchell are members there, aren't they? I have no idea. I know Mitchell does, but I don't know Derek or his wife very well. Me too. Hey, what about Tyler Vaughn? You talked to him at the party, didn't you? He might as well come too. Lauren turned and looked at me strangely. She paused before answering. Why do you want to go with him? He's, excuse the expression, an idiot. I had to dance with him a couple times at the party, but he really creeped me out. He's still a jerk. Now I was wondering, is she trying to talk me out of asking him, or trying to convince me she doesn't like him? Either way, it was very unusual for her to talk about someone else like that. Oh, I don't know much about him, but he's Derek's friend and they seem to share everything. Maybe this is a bad idea. I'll just call Phil and Charlie. They always want me to join them. That sounds like a better plan. Stay away from Tyler. You shouldn't mess with him. Okay, he's not on my list anymore. So you don't mind about golf? I don't mind, because I'll still be gone anyway. Why don't we have dinner at the Cypress later? I'll have a nice haircut, and you'll be relaxed after playing golf. You can take me out and be proud of me. I can drop Emma and Sophie off at my parents' place. I agreed, and we planned to meet at home at 5:30 on Saturday to get ready. If I'd been more careful, I could have gotten all the information I needed to divorce her that day. It would be very nice to tell her everything over dinner at one of the most beautiful places in the city. The next day at work, I went down to the equipment room to get some things I needed to track my wife and her lover. I decided to take one of the company's surveillance vans. I could leave it in the company parking lot until Saturday morning when I went golfing. I grabbed 2 small transmitters to put in her purse and car, and one of the small GPS units I could install in her car. This would tell me exactly where she was at every moment. The van was also video capable, but I couldn't decide what to do with it. Since Tyler said they were going to a motel, there was no way I could film inside. Maybe I could put a camera in her jacket, but only if I knew for sure she'd wear it. I could try, but I wasn't sure. Wherever she goes, I can follow her through the GPS unit. The surveillance van can record up to 7 hours of video and at least that much audio. I might be able to point the camera at the motel room door and see who comes in and out. That should be enough. I took the van home that Tuesday night and unloaded it in the garage. I wanted to make sure Lauren wouldn't see the equipment before I was ready. She'd gone shopping with the girls, so I was able to work in privacy. I checked out the transmitters and receivers first. Both worked perfectly, and the receivers worked up to a mile away, maybe more in open spaces. The GPS unit was easy to install, just 2 wires to the battery, and it would run continuously. I could download the information to my laptop and see where the car had been. The camera setup was different. I'd have to open the back of the van and adjust the camera manually. I couldn't leave the back open or someone might notice, but I could cover it with something. I planned to set the camera and let it run automatically. I'd set it to start recording at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and run until 8 that evening. That should cover the entire time. I loaded everything back into the van and locked it up. Now all I had to do was wait for Saturday. Lauren came home with the girls around 8 that evening. I'd ordered pizza, and we all sat around the kitchen table eating and talking about their day. Emma was excited about a sleepover she was going to on Friday night, and Sophie was talking about her dance class. Lauren seemed happy and relaxed, and I tried to act normal, but inside I was dying. How could she sit there and laugh with me and the girls when she was planning to betray me in just a few days? That night, after the girls went to bed, Lauren came to me in the living room. She sat down next to me on the couch and put her head on my shoulder. "Marcus, is everything okay? You seem a little distant tonight." I put my arm around her and pulled her close. "Everything's fine, honey. Just tired from work. That's all." She looked up at me and smiled. "Well, maybe I can help you relax." She kissed me and I kissed her back. We ended up in the bedroom, and she was as passionate as she'd been the night after the party. I tried to enjoy it, but all I could think about was Tyler Vaughn and what he'd said. Was she thinking about him while she was with me? Was she practicing for Saturday? Wednesday came and I was a wreck at work. I couldn't focus on anything. I kept replaying Tyler's words in my head, trying to make sense of it all. How could Lauren do this to me? To us? To our family? That evening I decided I needed to verify what Tyler had said. I needed to hear it for myself. I took one of the transmitters and hid it in Lauren's purse while she was in the shower. The receiver was small enough to fit in my pocket, and I could listen to her conversations throughout the day. Thursday was torture. I listened to her all day, her conversations with Robert, her phone calls, her chats with other secretaries. Nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing suspicious. Maybe Tyler had been lying. Maybe it was all just talk and none of it was true. But then late Thursday afternoon I heard her on the phone. "Yes, Saturday at 2:15. I know where it is. Roosevelt Road, right? Okay. I'll be there." My heart sank. It was true. All of it was true. Friday morning I went to work early. I needed to talk to Derek Sullivan. I needed to find out more about Tyler's plan. I found Derek at his desk. "Derek, can I talk to you for a minute?" He looked up, surprised. "Sure, Marcus. What's up?" "I need to ask you about Tyler. I heard you guys talking the other day about a woman he's seeing. I'm just curious. Is it serious?" Derek laughed. "Tyler? Serious? Come on, Marcus. You know Tyler. He's just having fun. Why do you ask?" "No reason. Just curious." I walked away, my mind racing. I needed to get Derek to tell me more. I needed to know exactly where they were meeting and when. I needed proof. He was working on policies for a large factory complex, and I used to spend time just looking at sites and putting together contingency plans for possible disasters. This was called risk analysis and was part of any insurance process. That day I stopped at his desk across from Tyler. He was working on his project. "Hello, Derek. Today I'd like to take a look at the Baxter plant plan. Do you have time to take me there?" He looked up with a distracted expression until he realized what I was talking about. Then he simply shrugged. "Of course. I can go anytime. I still need to go back there to take some pictures." "When do you want to go?" "How about in an hour or so?" "Great. I'll stop along the way and pick you up at your desk." Afterward I said a few more words, and as I turned the corner I looked back just in time to see a grin pass between Derek and Tyler. They looked at me the whole time until I left their sight. Interesting. I decided I was going to make Derek pay. He wasn't guilty of anything other than colluding with Tyler and making rude remarks about my wife, but he knew about the plan and decided to watch and laugh at me. So he was just as guilty as far as I was concerned. Derek pulled up next to me about an hour later as planned, and we left in my SUV. I'd inserted one of the small transmitters into the car console. Could capture any conversation in or around the vehicle. I wanted to have on record some of what I was going to say to Derek, something that would only be between him and me. As we left the parking lot and began the 25-minute drive to Baxter, I spoke. So tell me, Derek, did you enjoy last week's party? I wasn't there, Marcus. I was on a trip, so I missed all the fun. What was interesting? Derek, how did Tyler and my wife get together? Is that what you missed? Derek was stunned and didn't know what to say. He stuttered and shifted in his seat and actually reached for the door handle until he realized where he was. Finally, he sagged and looked at me. How do you know? All I know is what Tyler told me. I don't even know if it's true. Do you think he would lie about something like that? Do you think he made it up? I don't think so, no. But how did you know? You weren't even there. From what I heard, you'd been gone for a couple hours. That's when everything happened. Tyler said he got her drunk and then took her to his car. As far as I know, that's it. This is not your concern. I just want to know what else Tyler told you. Does he have any plans for another meeting? This was to see if I could trust everything this idiot told me. He said they were going to do it on Saturday when she's supposed to get her hair done. This time he's going to rent a room. That's all I know, honestly, Marcus. Well, I want to thank you for being a good friend and telling me this, I said sarcastically. I know you wouldn't want to be part of something like that. You were going to tell me anyway, weren't you? Yes, sure. I like you and Lauren. I wouldn't want something like that to happen to you. Tyler is a real jerk. Sorry, you made me think. I feel like a real hypocritical piece of crap. What did you say? Oh yeah. I couldn't wait to hear all about it after Tyler was done with her. With these words, I reached into the console and turned off the recorder. This was what I wanted to have for later. What I wanted to say now was not going to be written down. It's not a problem, Derek. As long as you do everything I tell you, you'll be fine. Fail me and you'll be in a world of pain. Is that clear? Derek just shook his head affirmatively. He got the point. One more thing, Derek. Nothing from our conversation should reach Tyler. He doesn't know that I know, and you won't tell him. If I find out you said anything to him, I'll beat the crap out of you first, and then I'll make sure you get fired and it's known that you can't be trusted. Do you understand me? You know I have ways to bug you and Tyler, so I'll know if you mess up. I won't tell Tyler anything. I won't even talk to him if you want. No. Do what you always do and let him talk. That's all you need to do. There's no problem if you even agree with him. Now I know the truth. Just remember what I said and everything will be fine. We didn't talk much after that and spent the next 2 hours there without saying a word. He did his job and I did mine. I had what I needed, and Derek would be left hanging too. He just didn't need to know right now. This week was one of the longest of my life. I kept a close watch on my wife, but she wasn't doing anything unusual. Wednesday evening arrived, and the children went to their school dance class, which was supposed to end around 9:30. I was sitting in the living room watching TV when Lauren came in and sat on my lap. She put her arms around my neck and started nuzzling my ear. We have about 2 hours before I go pick up the kids. Don't you want to make love? Although I was disheartened and angry about what was happening, I was also human, and against my will I became aroused. I grabbed her around the waist and pressed her tightly to me. I kissed her tenderly. Take me upstairs to our bedroom right now. I want you and I want it now. I needed no prompting and followed her upstairs. We made love, and when it was over we simply lay in each other's arms for some time, not feeling the need to speak. This was love at its finest. For a while I forgot my doubts and fears that this could very well end for us. I wanted to forget and believe it was all a lie, but it wasn't meant to be. That was quite nice, husband. I think we need to do this more often, don't we? We seem to be out of sync for a while. Let's not let this happen again. Fine. I'll definitely work on this. How much time do we have? Can we take a quick shower? Now? Or wait until our date on Saturday night? I can ask the children to go to their grandmother's for the night. How about that? I'm all for it. Anything else on Saturday? How is it looking? Okay. You have golf and I have my hair appointment. Then love, we have our dinner date, and after that I'll be yours whenever you want. And you better do lots and lots of that for me. Do you have a better offer? No. Okay, then we're set. Lauren quickly got dressed and went to get the children. I lay there for a while just remembering what had just happened. How could this woman make love to me like that if she was planning an afternoon with Tyler Vaughn? I knew she was smart, but was she also a good actor? Something was definitely wrong, and I was going to find out on Saturday. While she was gone, I checked the transmitters and found they were working fine. I planned to install them Friday night in her car and purse. I had everything ready except for one more meeting with Derek Sullivan. I needed to find out what hotel Tyler had booked. Derek would find out for me, or I'd do something he wouldn't like. The next morning I called Derek and asked him to meet me in the third-floor cafeteria. He agreed without comment, and when he came in I was sitting at one of the tables. He joined me without saying anything, and I quickly got to the point. Derek, my friend, I need you to find out from Tyler where he plans to take Lauren on Saturday. I need the name of the motel and where it's located. All you have to do is catch him somewhere alone and ask him. Tell him you think he's feeding you crap, and if he tells you where he's taking her, you'll believe him. I smiled at Derek as he tried to figure out how he could do what I asked. He was afraid I'd do something if he didn't. Finally, he agreed but asked how I'd know if Tyler told him where they'd meet. Don't worry about it. I have my ways. He walked away, but not before I hugged him and tucked one of the transmitters under the collar of his jacket, reminding him of our agreement. He was so scared of me he never felt anything. It was almost invisible, held in place by adhesive, and he didn't notice it. I returned to my office and turned on the receiver. The place was buzzing, and it let me know Derek was back at his desk and talking to Tyler. I heard him ask to meet Tyler in 10 minutes in the copy room. Tyler agreed, and then nothing happened until Derek stood up to meet him. I went back to listening. What happened, buddy? Do you have problems with the policy? I'm the best you know. Nonsense, Tyler. I was with Marcus yesterday, and he doesn't seem to have any problems at home. I asked him if he was okay, and he said something about how things couldn't be better. I think you're feeding me crap about his wife. Hey dude, nothing but the truth. I wouldn't lie about something like that. Why don't you believe me? Where are you taking her on Saturday? You said a motel. What motel? Maybe if you show me the receipt for the room or something I'll believe you. Otherwise, I think you're full of it. Oh yeah? I already have a reservation at the Skyview Motel on Roosevelt Road for Saturday afternoon. I can check in at 2 o'clock and she'll be there by 2:15. How do you like that fact? You can call Skyview and check. My name's on the reservation. Is this enough for you? Okay, I think that'll do. I really envy you, Tyler. Lauren is truly something. I hope you know that she has a good marriage with Marcus that you're trying to ruin. You better be careful and think about it. It's not my problem if she's ready. So am I. Anyway, how good can a marriage be if she wants an afternoon with me? That was all I needed to hear, so I turned off the receiver and just let it record the rest. Now I was almost ready to believe everything. I was really hoping Tyler would back down and admit he'd made it all up, but now he'd confirmed the location and was just waiting. At least I had the address so I could connect the equipment in the van and let the rest work automatically. Maybe I could just park the van there Friday night, turn on the equipment Saturday around noon and forget about it. Everything else would be done automatically and I wouldn't need to be nearby. I didn't want to see or hear my wife as she tore my heart out. Now I was lost. I could only continue and try to get what I needed to confront her, Tyler and Derek. The first thing I did was call the motel and they confirmed Tyler was registered. At least part of it was true. Now I just had to wait until Friday evening. But then I had a thought. What if I could get a photo of them entering the motel room? I decided to visit the motel that day and see what I could do. I walked into the Skyview Motel office and waited for the clerk. He was a seedy-looking character, which was good for me. Honesty wasn't what I was looking for right now. Hi, friend. I'm an investigator for an insurance company and I need some information. I have an ID and a warrant for you. With that, I quickly flashed my badge and handed him a document that to most people looked like a search warrant. It was fake, but I was counting on the fact he wasn't smart enough to know the difference. The $100 bill I slipped him didn't hurt either. Yes, sure. What do you want to know? I asked him to confirm Tyler Vaughn's reservation and asked if he had a room number. He said no, so I asked if he could give Tyler a room on the first floor overlooking Roosevelt Road. He hemmed and hawed until I slipped him another $50 and finally gave me a room number that would allow me to shoot video. I let him know about the van that would be parked on his property, and he just shrugged and said it was no big deal. I thanked him again for his help and gave him another $50 for his silence. He gave me a devilish grin and put the bills in his pocket. After I left, I decided I could now get the video I wanted by pointing the camera through the front window of the van, which I'd park in front of their room. Now I was all set. Friday at work was pretty tough for me. I didn't know what to do with myself, so I walked up to Robert Caldwell's office under the pretext of talking about my visit to the art gallery that had been robbed. He didn't really need to know, but I wanted to see my wife. As I walked down the hallway, Lauren's face lit up when she saw me. She waved at me, beckoning me to her desk, and I walked over. "I've really enjoyed the last few days. You've been around more often than before." "I'm not complaining, but what's going on? Is there something I should know about?" "Nothing like that as far as I know. I just like seeing you, that's all." "Is Robert inside?" "Yes, he's inside. Do you want to see him?" "Yes, if it's possible. I need to talk to him about the gallery investigation." I went in and talked to Robert for a bit. Robert was very young to be president, but I knew he'd made a reputation for himself some time ago. He'd launched this office as well as most of the other branches and put them into operation. I knew he owned a good portion of the company. He had a wonderful wife named Diane, whom I'd met several times. She looked like your typical trophy wife, blonde, slim, and truly gorgeous. She and Lauren were about the same age and talked often. Robert and I were quite close. While I was there, I asked him point-blank what he thought of Tyler Vaughn. At his request, I often spoke about the work of other employees, as he insisted I take on more responsibility in management. But the issue was mine. "Why do you want to know about Tyler? Is there something I should know about? I need you to tell me if one of my employees is having problems or causing problems." "That's true. Well, I might have big problems with Tyler. I don't really like him and Derek Sullivan, perhaps. I may have more information for you this weekend if everything works out as I expect. I'd like to be able to call you at home on Sunday if that's okay. Otherwise, I'll wait until Monday. Let's see. Until then, I'd prefer you not tell anyone about this." "Fine. No problem. I'll wait. You know, I trust your judgment on these things. You've always been fair in your assessments, and I respect that. I would just like you to consider taking the position of vice president I offered you. As per your request, I still haven't mentioned this to Lauren, but she should know about it. In fact, if you don't tell her soon, I will. I'm just waiting for the right time to bring this up. This means a lot of changes for us, so I wanted some time to think about it. I'll be sure to let you know next week." "Is that coming? That's cool. So are you finally going to look into it?" "I promise I will. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, so I need to make a decision soon. For my own reasons." I walked out of his office, stopping to say a few words to Lauren before heading toward Derek's desk. I stopped for a second and said loud enough for Tyler to hear that I thought his assessment of Baxter's performance was correct. I then gave Derek a thumbs up to let him know I'd heard his conversation with Tyler. His eyes opened very wide, but like me, he said nothing. He just nodded. I patted him on the back as I removed the small transmitter. As before, he felt nothing. I finished the day without any distractions and waited for Lauren before heading home. I wanted to tell her I needed to take the van to someone and that I'd catch a taxi to my car, so I'd be a little late. She kissed me goodbye and went home. I noticed Tyler standing by the door watching her leave. He looked at me and turned away to return to his seat. I drove the van to the Skyview Motel, locked the camera in position, making sure it captured the right room the clerk had given me. I locked it and reminded the motel owner I was supposed to leave it there for the night and maybe tomorrow. I slipped him another $20 and thanked him for his understanding. He put the money in his pocket and shook my hand. With that, I headed home. Friday night at home was another surprise. Lauren ordered pizza for the kids and said she'd made sure they went to Grandma's that evening. I asked why, and she said she'd enjoyed Wednesday night so much that she wanted to continue it tonight. Did I mind? Not so much. Well, Friday night was almost the same as Wednesday night, except we did something new. While I was enjoying it, I had a sinking feeling thinking about where she could have learned all this. But when I asked her about it later, she giggled and pulled a book out of her nightstand and showed me an article about making love after 35. I'll be damned if most of what we'd been doing the last 2 nights wasn't right there. I really enjoyed it that night. I tried to do everything she wanted me to do, and I succeeded. Took most of the night, but so what? I promised myself I'd take some Viagra next time. We lay next to each other, and I finally plucked up the courage to ask her where all this came from. Lauren, I like what we do, and I really want to please you, but I have to ask, where does it come from? Why now? If I didn't trust you so much, I'd wonder if there might be a guilty conscience involved. Sorry, Marcus. Diane told me something last week that I can't repeat. I just keep thinking about us and the girls and our life together, and it makes me so happy sometimes that I just need to express myself. It turns out I chose this path because I wanted to show how much you mean to me. I listened, and seeing her happy made my heart burn. But the next moment I wondered, if this is true, then how can she be having an affair? Should I ask her? I'm glad you feel that way. Are you sure I make you happy enough? Are you satisfied with our lovemaking? Or are you missing something, and that's why you're doing all this new stuff? Tell me honestly. I love the way we make love, and you've always satisfied me in every way. I have no reason to want more. But I just don't want us to get into a rut where we get so used to everything that we let it become routine with no passion. Can't you see it? Don't you want me to always be desired by you? You'll never have to worry about that. I love you and always will. I can't imagine anything ruining what we have. That's good, because I won't allow it. You're mine now and forever. We spent the rest of the night in each other's arms and woke up the same way. I was pleasantly exhausted but wanted a shower with Lauren. I shook her and pulled her into the shower with me. She went willingly and with mocking irritation complained bitterly about being taken out of her warm bed. But when I let her go, she didn't leave. We turned on the water, and she quickly moved into the spray, turning to hold out her arms for me to join her. We lathered each other up all over and paid special attention to each other's more interesting parts. Soon we both became aroused and shared intimacy. When I asked, she said she was ready for the day but that she was expecting something more that night. With that, we finished showering and getting dressed. Early in the morning, I drove to the motel and made sure everything was ready. I set all the timers to start at 1 p.m. and made sure the audio recording would last at least 5 hours. The video was set to record to DVD and would take at least 7 hours after compression. This would cover the entire day. I initiated the sequences and locked the van. When these two lovers entered their love nest, they'd become the stars of my new film, and the first screening would make a very loud impression on everyone involved. I drove home to pick up my clubs and wish my beloved wife a good day. That day was terrible. In any case, I was playing golf with 2 guys I met at the club, and if my score was any indication, they must have felt like I was wasting my money on the club membership. I ended up buying beer for all of us like a big loser. It was just after 5 when I drove to the van to make sure everything was okay. I looked around but didn't see any cars or any activity, so I assumed everyone had already left. Of course. I quickly called my home phone, and Lauren answered. I just told her I was on my way and hung up. Since it was almost time for our dinner reservation, I drove home without reviewing the information I'd collected. I really wanted to check before dinner, but then I thought about our planned evening. Why not enjoy what she had to offer just one more time? After all, I enjoyed making love to her, and even if she cheated on me, it shouldn't ruin my evening. I thought about it, but found I was starting to choke again. Why is she doing this to me? I loved her more than I could imagine, and I didn't know how I'd live without her. I knew that if I had the information I expected to see on the surveillance tapes, I'd have to get a divorce. I loved her, but I couldn't accept her behavior. What about the children? She was a good mother, and she should have custody. It would only be right. If she cheated, she must have had a reason I didn't know about. She was a good person who did a bad thing. Okay, I could live with that. She could raise the children and I'd pay child support. These were the thoughts that occupied my mind as I drove home to meet my wife. I wasn't sure I could survive the evening, but I had to try. I couldn't confront her until I had proof. There was a tiny voice in the back of my mind that constantly denied all the information I had so far. It insisted something was wrong. I ignored it. Facts are facts, and soon I'd have all the facts I needed. At home, Lauren had already showered and dressed. She said she'd add the finishing touches when it was time to go out. In the meantime, I rushed to get ready, and we were able to leave in time to meet our table reservation. My wife was wonderful. She was always noticed when we entered a room. She was used to receiving glances from admiring men and simply ignoring them, but I noticed, and that always made me proud. Tonight was a reminder of what I could lose. She was also smart and played an excellent dinner partner. We discussed everything that a husband and wife discuss when they have free time and drank wine at dinner. She more than me since I was the driver. She really seemed to be flirting with me. My wife of 14 years and mother of my 2 girls was making advances toward me. It almost broke my heart to realize that she could have spent hours with another man that same day and was now flirting with her husband over dinner. As we finished the dessert of chocolate mousse preceded by some sorbet, we looked at each other and smiled. We were both ready to move into the bedroom at home. That evening, I signaled to the waiter for the bill while Lauren went to the restroom. We walked out hand in hand and walked to the car. As I turned onto the main street and headed toward our house, Lauren moved closer to me and leaned her head against my shoulder. She lifted her hand to remove one of my hands from the steering wheel and lowered it to my lap. With little prompting, I held her like we did when we were young and in love for the first time. She sighed and relaxed. We drove home like this, slowly but comfortably. At home, Lauren was walking around the house doing all those little preparations to get things done, and finally she looked at me. "Shouldn't we go upstairs and pick up where we left off this morning? I think you owe me something since you only gave me a down payment earlier." "Remember." "I remember. You lead, and I'll follow." We quickly went upstairs to the bedroom, and Lauren stood in front of the bed. I stripped down to my boxers and socks. She took off her top and bra, leaving only one strand of pearls on. She reached out to remove it, but I stopped her hand. "Leave them alone. You look so hot standing here wearing nothing but the pearls around your neck. You're incredibly beautiful. I could watch you all night. This is something only you will see. I'm completely yours, and I want you to do whatever you want with me. I want this night to be the first night of the rest of our lives together. Are you sure? Is this what you want? I wouldn't do anything to hurt you or make you feel ashamed. You should know that. I trust you completely and give myself completely to you. I love you with all my heart." At that moment, I believed her, and I knew that no matter what I found the next day, I would never give up on her. I put it off until tomorrow. Today, I would love this woman with all my heart. That night, we made love in ways I'd never experienced before. Sometimes she would laugh and quote the page number when I asked her about something. But it was a magical night. That night, I learned new things about intimacy and connection. God, what a night. We fell asleep in each other's arms and woke up late Sunday morning. She didn't want to get up, so I suggested an encore of one of our favorites from the night before. She quickly agreed, and we made love one more time before finally getting up. Sunday meant she had to pick up the girls. I said I needed to get to the van quickly to check on it and that I'd be home soon. She said she'd probably stay at her mom's for a while before returning. This left me time to get the tapes from the van and see what they contained. I still had to check what I'd left in her purse and car, but that could be done later. She left and I drove to the van. I got all the recordings and printouts with no problem and took the van back to the company facility. I called a taxi to pick me up and take me back to my car, then drove home. The first thing I did was look at the GPS printout. It showed her car was indeed on Roosevelt Road where the motel was, and from that moment, my heart almost stopped beating. I hoped against hope, but apparently it didn't happen. I almost didn't bother to go any further but wanted to watch the video for myself to confirm. I turned on the TV and DVD player and inserted the disc. I pressed play and sat down to have my heart broken. The picture was perfect, and the room was in the center of the screen. I fast-forwarded until I saw a car approaching and slowed down to normal speed. I saw clearly and distinctly Tyler Vaughn get out of the car and open the door to the room. He entered and closed the door. I rewound again until another car appeared. I watched as a woman got out and walked to the door. She knocked and Tyler opened the door. He smiled, and the woman approached him. As she entered the room, she turned to look around, and I saw her face. My heart started beating wildly in my chest, and my pulse went through the roof. I paused the video, went back to the beginning, and watched it all the way through before extracting it. Well, I'll be damned, I said to myself. I had to immediately call Robert Caldwell at home. There was one address I wanted to check, so I pulled my wife's address book out of the console where she kept it and looked up Diane Caldwell's home address. Sure enough, the GPS unit had tracked Lauren's car to that location. She'd gone to get her hair done at a salon on that same street, not far from the motel. Tyler had been right about the location but wrong about the woman. I immediately called Robert. Robert, this is Marcus. I'm sorry to bother you on a Sunday, but I need to see you right away. It's urgent. Marcus? What's going on? Is everything okay? No, it's not. I need to come over to your house right now. I have something you need to see. Okay, come over. I'll be waiting. I grabbed the DVD and the GPS printout and drove to Robert's house. When I arrived, he met me at the door, looking concerned. Marcus, what's this all about? Robert, you need to see this. But first, I need to ask you. Where was Diane yesterday afternoon? Diane? She said she was going shopping with some friends. Why? Robert, I'm sorry to have to show you this, but you need to know. I handed him the DVD and told him to play it. He put it in his player and we watched together. I watched his face as he saw Tyler enter the room, then the woman get out of the car and enter. When the woman turned and the camera caught her face, Robert's face went pale. That's Diane. That's my wife. I'm sorry, Robert. I really am. He sat down heavily on the couch, staring at the screen. Why were you? I overheard Tyler bragging about having an affair with a married woman. He said her name was Lauren, my wife. He said they were meeting at the Skyview Motel on Saturday afternoon. I set up surveillance to catch them, but it wasn't Lauren. It was Diane. Robert sat there for a long time, not saying anything. Finally, he looked up at me. What are you going to do with this? Robert, Tyler needs to be fired. He's been lying about my wife, dragging her name through the mud to cover up his affair with your wife. Derek Sullivan knew about it too. He was complicit. They both need to go. They're gone. First thing Monday morning. I'll have security escort them out. Thank you, Robert. Marcus, I need to ask you a favor. Can you not tell anyone about this? About Diane? Robert, I won't say a word to anyone. This is between you and Diane. But I do need to talk to Lauren. I need to tell her what happened because she was implicated in Tyler's lies. Of course. Do what you need to do. I left Robert's house and drove home. I needed to verify one more thing before I talked to Lauren. I called Mitchell Hayes. Mitchell, it's Marcus. Sorry to bother you on a Sunday. No problem, Marcus. What's up? I need to ask you about the party last week. You were sitting with Lauren for a while after I left, right? Yeah, I was there with my wife Karen. Why? Was Lauren drunk that night? Mitchell laughed. Lauren? Drunk? No way. She and Karen were drinking Coke all night. They were inseparable. They spent the whole time talking about the kids' school play. And did Tyler try to take her outside at any point? Tyler? That creep? He tried to hit on her a couple of times, but she shut him down pretty quickly. She wasn't interested in him at all. Why are you asking? Just checking something. Thanks, Mitchell. No problem. Hey, is everything okay? Everything's fine now. Thanks again. I hung up and sat back, relieved. So it was all true. Tyler had lied about everything. Lauren had never cheated on me. She'd never been drunk that night. She'd never gone to his car. She'd never agreed to meet him at the motel. It was all a lie to cover up his affair with Diane. I sat there for a while, just letting it all sink in. I put my wife through hell, well, at least in my own mind. I doubted her, suspected her, spied on her, and she'd been innocent all along. When Lauren came home with the girls, I acted as normal as possible. I played with Emma and Sophie, helped with their homework, and had dinner with the family. That night, after the girls went to bed, Lauren came to me in the living room. Marcus, you seem different tonight. Is everything okay? Everything's fine, honey. Better than fine, actually. Really? What happened? I can't tell you yet, but you'll find out tomorrow. Just trust me on this. She looked at me curiously but didn't push it. Monday morning came, and I went to work early. I wanted to be there when Tyler and Derek were escorted out. At 9 o'clock sharp, I saw security go to their desks. Within minutes, both Tyler and Derek were being walked out of the building, carrying boxes with their personal belongings. I watched from my office window as they left. Tyler looked confused and angry. Derek just looked scared. Good. About an hour later, Lauren called me from Robert's office. Marcus, what's going on? Robert just had security escort Tyler and Derek out of the building. He's been in a terrible mood all morning. Do you know anything about this? I'll tell you everything at lunch. Meet me at Mario's at noon. Okay, I'll be there. At lunch, Lauren was full of questions. Marcus, seriously, what happened? Robert has been acting strange all morning. He asked me to type up termination letters for Tyler and Derek. The reason was violation of the morals clause. This is the most unusual thing that's happened since I've been his secretary. So tell me, what do you know about this? Before I tell you what happened, I want you to listen to this recording first. I handed her my phone with the recording of Tyler and Derek talking about the motel. She began to listen with interest, and then I watched as her face turned pale. She looked at me with her eyes wide open and her mouth forming an O of surprise. She listened to the end and then angrily took off the headphones. That's not true. He's lying. I never went to any motel with him, and I never would. You can't believe this recording. Is this what you gave Robert? Does he believe this too? No, he doesn't believe Tyler, and neither do I. I have something to explain to you, and I want you to just listen to me the whole time. Will you do that? When I said I didn't believe the recording, she relaxed a little but was still angry and a little scared. She just nodded and indicated for me to begin. I heard Tyler and Derek talking a little over a week ago. Tyler told Derek about you and him at the party. He said he got you drunk and then took you to his car, and you were intimate in the back seat. He was very detailed and described what he did and what you supposedly did, and he told it all to Derek. Derek listened and believed what he heard. You'll be glad to know he was so impressed that he wanted Tyler to include him in the next meeting. I paused as Lauren tried to interrupt, but I held up my hand. I was confused and tried to figure out if he could be telling the truth. I couldn't believe it, but I had to be sure. I got Derek to talk to Tyler, and Tyler said he'd booked a motel room on Roosevelt Road for Saturday afternoon when you were supposed to get your hair done. Then I was really upset because how could he know about your hair appointment if you didn't tell him? Do you remember I mentioned Saturday to you? We made plans for that evening, but Tyler hadn't been around since the party. Lauren started to speak, but I held up my hand again. I decided to be absolutely sure it was really you, so I used one of the company's surveillance vans and set it up to track your car and take video of whoever came into the motel room. I asked the receptionist to give me the room number so I'd know where to record everything, and I watched it on Sunday. It was after this that I called Robert and gave him everything. Tyler and Derek were fired at my request. Lauren listened to me as I told her the story. She was still confused and couldn't believe I'd thought she was the one with Tyler at the motel. But I wasn't with him. I got my hair done just like I told you. My salon is on Roosevelt Road, but I didn't know about any motel. You don't believe me? I actually know who he was with because she told me herself. It was. I quickly continued, cutting her off before she could let it out. I had to convince her I'd trusted her all along. This wasn't the truth, but it was the wisest thing. Yes, I said I believed you, and I'll tell you why. I got a video of Tyler that day, and he was indeed visited by a woman, just as he claimed. The woman who visited him in that motel room was Robert's wife, Diane. Lauren's mouth dropped open. Diane? Robert's wife. Yes. I first suspected this after talking to Mitchell Hayes a few days ago. Since Tyler claimed he took you to his car that night, I asked Mitchell if you'd been a little drunk. He just laughed, telling me that you and his wife Karen were drinking Coke that night and were inseparable. He said it was clear you weren't interested in Tyler. When I asked him if Tyler ever suggested taking you outside to get some air, he just laughed and didn't say anything. So you really had doubts about me, didn't you? Did you set this up to spy on me? I'm not sure I like that. Did you really not trust me? Even after Wednesday evening, Friday evening, and again on Saturday. Of course I trusted you, but I couldn't explain Tyler's story. Why would he say such things if they weren't true? Then it occurred to me that he was trying to distract Derek from who was really with him. If Derek thinks it's you, he won't ask any more questions. I had no idea who it was, so I had to find out the truth. I just wish it wasn't Robert's wife. He was devastated. We talked some more and finally had to return from lunch. Lauren accepted my story about trying to find out who Tyler was really with, and I let her believe it. I did have some doubts, and I was ashamed of them, but I didn't regret knowing the truth. We were in a good place now, and I didn't want that to change. Things had calmed down at work that day, but Lauren called me and told me Robert wanted to talk to her later that day. I said I really didn't know what it was about, and I think she believed me. I didn't hear any more until that evening at home. We ate dinner, the girls were active as usual with phone calls and homework and other things only they understood, but they finally settled down and went to bed. We enjoyed the silence for a while until Lauren told me what Robert wanted. He told me to think about how lucky I am to have a man like you as a husband. He talked about trust, respect, and love, what it all meant and what it was like to lose it. Finally, he told me about Diane and what she'd done and asked for my advice. And what did you tell him? Were you able to help him? I couldn't tell him what to do. I just asked him if he really loved her and if he could forgive her if possible. I convinced him to talk to her and let her explain herself. But I told him that if he couldn't get past this and forgive her, then he should leave her right away. Don't drag his feet and don't let things become bitter. He listened to what I said, so maybe I helped. I'm sure it helped. Did he mention anything about me? No, nothing more. Is there something else? Well, yes, there is. Robert offered me a position as the corporation's vice president of investigations. I'd have complete control of all investigators in all offices around the world, and I'd have a choice of where I lived. We could move to California or Florida or wherever we have a branch office with more than 5 investigators. I'd still report to Robert, but only to him. This will mean a lot more money as well as benefits such as stock options and other things. Lauren screamed and jumped into my lap, hugging my neck. She couldn't let me go and couldn't stop laughing with joy. When did this happen? Is it because of what you did today? Is this some kind of reward? Now who doubts whom? Robert suggested this to me 6 months ago. I just wasn't ready to think about it until now. I think the thought of losing everything I'd built somehow made my choice more real. For a while last week, I thought I might have lost you. This got me thinking. Marcus, you could never lose me like this. I won't go to anyone else. It will never happen and you'll never think like that again. Can you hear me? Never again. Thank you for your viewing. See you next time. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to JK Tells a Story for more tales.